Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am wrestling's favorite hothead, Xavier Heat.
And I am the man with no gimmick, the James Conti.
And you are listening to Double Turn Radio.
Yeah. Representing the Bullet Club, you know what I mean? Wrestle rap, rated. Y'all better cease and desist, man. Too sweet. Biz clip.
Yo, pardon me, Conway. You can't make a song called Bullet Club without a single mention of the Bullet Club. For this brand, I go bananas like gorilla cubs to handle my destiny like Tammy and his little bruv. I stopped puffing, but my lungs still full of bud. Brain still supporting the life. How could I pull a plug? Globe all over the blades, both of my shoulders straight. I'm showing no restraint when I stress words like exercise and setting fires, and I'm controlling range flawless. Even Dow's I'ma tell you that my yoga flame. Running wild like the vitamins in Hogan veins. When I'm writing languages, you know the flow's insane. And you can tell by my vocal tone that I know the pain and feeling like I'm missing my shot. So I'ma hone and aim like Brad Cooper in that sniper flick. I'm getting rowdy in the booth, I'm turning it in the Piper's Pit. Treat lyrics like Matt and Nick when I'm rapping it. So you know when that super is the type I kick. Flair flowing until I'm living the life of Rick. Rated RKO, striking them with the Viper hit. And you can tell I get hyper. Suffice to say I knew this was a murder from the moment I was typing this.
Hey everybody, it's Badass Billy Gunn, and I'm here with a guy who has the most heat in the business. But you're listening to Double Turn Radio. Dig it? Suck it.
Hey, welcome to another lovely edition of our pay-per-review podcast. Once again, my name is Xavier Heat, wrestling's favorite hothead, and next to me is my beautiful and lovely co-host,
The man with no gimmick, the James Conti.
and we are here in my living room. We are going to review today Elimination Chamber 2010. This is our pay-per-review podcast. We will be reviewing popular or classic pay-per-views from WWE, New Japan, TNA, any wrestling pay-per-view that we can get our hands on. We want opinions from you guys on Facebook and our Twitter on which pay-per-views we should be reviewing next. So definitely go and check out our social media pages. Facebook, you can look up Double Turn Radio. On Twitter, you can look up twitter.com/Double Turn Radio. That last O is going to be a 0. Also, want to go ahead and thank our sponsors, Warriors of Wrestling and our Tier 1 Wrestling as well. And we also want to go ahead and shout out Russell Rated R. Tyson for the intro track in the beginning and end of every podcast. This podcast, we will be playing his Bullet Club freestyle. We show a little bit in the beginning, and we give you the rest of the song in the end as well. So, after all that, let's go ahead and get to it. Elimination Chamber 2010. James, what'd you think of this pay-per-view?
Oh, it's a shit show with two really good, a co-main event and a really good main event. So, yeah, I mean, it's a shit show from the first match to the second match. And those two matches combined lasted about a half hour long. So, I mean, it was really weird.
We were in for a long
show, with the exception that, you know, the last two matches were pretty entertaining. We'll go right into it, and we'll just start. Looking actually at the Wikipedia page just to look at the match card real quick. I didn't know. I was looking at it. I saw Christian versus Ezekiel Jackson, and I realized that was the dark match that was not on the show.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't remember that happening. I know I was paying attention, but the opening bout was the Elimination Chamber for the WWE Championship. Champion Sheamus was defending against Triple H, Ted DiBiase, Randy Orton, Kofi Kingston, and John Cena.
Yes. I forgot how awful Sheamus's theme music was.
Yeah, he had bad theme music,
And he's got
better
decent theme music now. Yeah. It was a pretty shitty starting off between Sheamus and Kofi. I just remember it being like a really boring 5 minutes to start the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah. Nothing major happened between the two.
Not at all.
I think we're gonna go through how everybody came in, got eliminated, but I think at one point or another, I think all 6 guys were in the ring at the same time, or it was 5 guys in the ring
Almost.
at once.
Yeah, I think it was.
Because I think who came in last? No, because Cena came in last, and I'm pretty sure that might have been after Kofi was out.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. So let's go right into.
So Triple H was the first person to come out of the pod after the slow start from Sheamus and Kofi. He had a giant shit-eating grin on his face, and I remember him cursing out Sheamus as they were going at it. For their little time, the little time that they got with each other. Kofi hit a boom drop on Triple H outside of the chamber, and then at this point, Orton was the second one out of the pod, and he was out far before the light shined on his pod.
Yeah, his door opened way before, and the lights were still above the chamber by the time he had ran outside, and by the time the lights came back on, he was already attacking people. So that was just really weird, and we made note of that because nobody else did that.
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed like they had they knew it. They had the key ready to go, and Orton just came out with some fire in his ass. He came out beating everybody. At some point, when Orton came out, he took I think it was Sheamus first to the outside, and he started throwing them into the cage, and he was using the ropes when they bounce back as momentum. To just keep doing it over and over and over again.
And for the most part, this was like the real first time during the match the cage is used, because there was not a whole lot of cage utilization. There's a whole lot more in the second.
Not at all. It was more so like a backdrop here, a backdrop there. Nothing really crazy at all. DiBiase was the fourth person. No, I'm sorry. DiBiase was the third person out of the pod, and he immediately attacks Triple H. And then he teases that he's going to attack Orton. At this point, Orton, Cody Rhodes, and Ted DiBiase were in Legacy. And there was starting to be some dissension between Orton and Ted DiBiase, where Ted wanted to branch out and make his own career. But he was still under the tutelage of Randy Orton at this point. So he was teasing that he was going to attack Orton. But then he helps him up, and they team up to beat all the others. And this was, the running story for a little bit throughout, the second half of the the middle part of the match itself. At some point, Orton and Ted DiBiase put Kofi Kingston's head through the chains of the chamber.
Oh my god, what a spot.
And then DiBiase put Kofi Kingston in a Boston Crab.
Yeah, it looked brutal. It looked terribly brutal.
Yeah, it was actually a pretty creative spot between all of them.
Yeah, because you saw prior to that, Orton was tearing at the chain link. And I forgot that spot was a thing. And, so that happened.
Cena, after this, around this time, Cena was getting ready to get out of the cage, and Orton and DiBiase surrounded him to make sure that they got to him right as the cage door opened, which is exactly what happened, because Cena started attacking them
right out the gate.
Yeah, right out of the gate.
He overcame the odds. He beat up everybody in sight. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah. Cena at some point gave an attitude adjustment to Ted outside of the chamber. Cody Rhodes comes out to give so Cena gave an AA to Ted outside of the chamber. Then they started selling for a little bit. Orton was getting in there as well. Orton was teasing, hitting I want to say it was Triple H or it was Cena. I couldn't really remember.
I think it was Trips. I remember Triple H being on the ground.
Yeah, and he teased giving him an RKO.
Yeah.
And then after this, Cody Rhodes came out to give Randy a pipe, but then Randy kind of shoos him off and tells him yo, I don't need it. I don't need your help.
Right.
But Cody was just like, all right, whatever. And he threw the pipe in there anyway. Ted DiBiase grabs it. And it was Cena, because Cena grabbed Orton and put him into the AA. And
as that's happening, Ted DiBiase has the pipe, and he hits Orton on the head with the pipe as he goes down for the AA, and Ted DiBiase eliminates Randy Orton.
Yep. So after that is where all of the really fast pins started happening, because then DiBiase almost immediately got eliminated by Kofi Kingston. And then almost immediately after that, Kofi got eliminated by Sheamus after eating a brutal bro kick.
Yeah, he bumped incredible for it.
Yeah.
It looked really good. It's funny because we were also talking about it. Sheamus at this time is using the Celtic Cross, the High Cross, as his finishing maneuver, as opposed to the bro kick, which is kind of used as a signature. I'm glad they eventually did change that, and they just made the Brogue Kick. They were like, yo, this looks incredible, and we're going to just make this your finishing move.
Yeah. Sheamus went to go hit Cena with the top rope Celtic Cross, and then Triple H goes and hits Sheamus with the weakest low blow in WWE history. And then Triple H pinned Sheamus to guarantee that we were getting a brand new WWE champion.
And this was one of the only pops during the match because the fans were pretty much.
This is when Sheamus had actual heel heat.
Yeah, Sheamus it was a huge pop for Sheamus to get pinned, and now we're down to Cena and Triple H. This is where it got really stupid because again, there was no time. They didn't wrestle at all. What happened was Cena stirred, got to his feet, saw Triple H was getting up, threw him right in the STF. We sat there for about a minute and a half while Triple H is deciding, what the hell am I going to do? And he taps out to John Cena's STF, crowning John Cena his 8th WWE Championship.
This is Cena's 8th reign. One more time. His 8th reign.
Yeah, and he's at 16 now, so between the years of 2010 and 2017, John Cena has won the championship 8 other times.
Yep.
After
this, Cena's celebrating in the ring. Vince McMahon comes out during Cena's celebration to announce that Cena is going to WrestleMania as long as he can beat Batista right now. So Batista comes out to a pop.
He's cashing in his Batista in the bank.
Yep.
And we're getting the WWE Championship match right now.
Yeah, right now. So it's Batista versus Cena, and it was a quick squash match. Cena wound up, I think, slapping Batista in the face. Batista got really hot and angry, and then
speared John Cena.
Speared John Cena.
The crap out of him. Hit him with a Batista bomb, pinned him, and Batista is now going to WrestleMania as your WWE Champion. 32-second long match. You can't really say much. This was in retaliation for Cena's support of Bret the Hitman Hart, who had just recently made his return to the WWE to work a program with Vince McMahon.
Yeah, and you get that vignette after the match about Bret Hart getting hit with the car.
Yeah, and that WrestleMania 27 is a review for another day.
Yes.
26, sorry.
Right before the vignette, after they pan the camera to Cena, and he's looking at the WrestleMania sign, and he's just clenching his fist like, oh no, you just got away. So it was just Cena being super over dramatic.
And it's basically signifying to us, oh, by the way, I'll be back there. I'll be wrestling for the title.
Yep. So, like I said, there was a vignette showing Bret Hart get hit with the car and the situation that led up to this point of Cena, losing and whatnot. Then after this, we got the Intercontinental Championship match between Drew McIntyre and Kane.
This match sucked.
The crowd was absolutely dead, but I want to go and point out that Jerry Lawler absolutely shit on Drew McIntyre's charisma.
Yeah,
right before the match started, there was something. It was Matt Striker praising Drew McIntyre, and then Jerry Lawler said something along the lines of, "Did he have a charisma bypass somewhere?" It's just that was just the start of Jerry Lawler being absolutely savage to Matt Striker for the rest of the night.
Yeah, they were going at each other the whole night. It was so funny. But this match wasn't. This match was it was pretty funny because it was a complete joke.
Yeah, the crowd was like,
the crowd had no interest.
Yeah,
no pops.
Nothing.
They couldn't get the crowd to pop, even when they went around the ring and they went up the ramp for a brief moment.
Everybody was like,
everyone was like, yeah,
okay.
We don't care.
Who cares?
This ended on a future shock DDT in the ring.
Yeah, this was after Drew was about to get. This was before Drew was about to get chokeslammed. And then he brings himself to one of the ropes, and then he uses the ref trying to break him up to put the thumb in the eye of Kane and hit the future shock DDT for the win. At some point during the match, Matt Striker said the word recombobulate.
Yeah, which is not a word.
He also said. You want to tell him what they also said?
I'm trying to remember what he also said.
How tall Drew McIntyre was. He got Matt Striker after the match said that Drew McIntyre is tall enough for the perfect trajectory for his thumb to be placed in Kane's eye. outrageous.
Yeah, very outrageous.
Outrageous.
Matt Stryker, like we went into, as soon as we saw Matt Stryker was on commentary, we were like, his commentary is not going to make any sense, but he's going to make it feel important. That stuff like that though, that makes absolutely no sense and means nothing. Regardless, this match was Rest Hold City, and it was boring, and it was exactly what I guess it served to do, which was to break up this from the rest of the show.
Yeah, I mean, but no, because I still think that the next match was what broke this up from the rest of the show, because it was honestly not a long pay-per-view at all.
It was only 2 hours 40 minutes.
It only had 4 matches.
Yeah,
that's all it had. After this, we got Maurice. We got a backstage segment with Maurice following Gail Kim. I guess they were making their way outside, and Maurice started talking trash to Gail Kim in French, but she was acting really friendly. And then Gail Kim caught Maurice by surprise by speaking French as well, and saying that she knows that Maurice has been talking shit behind her back, and how she can't wait for the match that they have later on that night. Then we've got the finals for the Divas Championship tournament. It's Gail Kim versus Maurice. I think what happened was somebody gave up the title. It was vacated.
It was vacated because Melina was injured at the time.
That's what it was, yeah.
But we were actually looking forward because we were like, oh, we need to see this match.
Because we just knew it was going to be so trash.
Yeah. That match never ended up occurring because Vicky Guerrero came out and said, that Maurice and Gail Kim were talking trash about the women on the SmackDown roster, and she said, I have the authority to make matches. Apparently she has the authority to cancel matches too.
Yeah, she said, I'm the only diva that has one, she called herself a diva.
She did call herself a diva.
2, she says she's the only diva that has authority to make or cancel matches. So she said that she's going to cancel the finals right now and make a tag team match between Gail Kim and Maurice versus Lay Cool, which wasn't called Lay Cool at that point.
Yeah, they were just Michelle McCool and Layla. And this match was
Wow. Michelle and Layla dominated Gail Kim, and then Gail Kim tried to tag in Maurice. Maurice says no, and then Lay Cool gets the pin. That was it. That was the match. Yeah, off the Styles Clash. Maurice then got in the ring and then beat down on Gail Kim to end the segment. Then we cut backstage to Josh Matthews interviewing The Miz about NXT and his rookie, Daniel Bryan. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this was when NXT was a reality show where it was pros versus Joes, pretty much.
Yeah. And, they're talking about Daniel Bryan, like, very briefly, and it's like, they don't know that this guy's, like...
Yeah, they're saying that he's, like, an indie superstar, and they were kind of, shitting on him the entire time, but I feel like backstage they kind of knew, like, okay, this guy's a big deal, because they were making, they name-dropped him a lot.
Yeah.
MVP comes out and starts talking to Miz and says that they have a match later for the U.S. title on that night. And then after this, we get an in-ring promo with William Regal coming out, and he says that he's going to be one of the coaches for an NXT rookie. Edge interrupts and says that he's going to make a decision the next night on Raw on which champ he's going to face at WrestleMania. And then he spears Regal out of nowhere and leaves. And that was the end of that. So...
time fillers. Yay.
That was literally all it was.
All right, and we go right into the co-main event, which is the United States Championship match between The Miz, accompanied by The Big Show, who are the Unified Tag Team Champions. Miz is defending his United States Championship against MVP, who is accompanied by Mark Henry.
Yep.
And it started out really slow.
Yeah, the crowd wasn't into it again. There were a couple of botches here and there, and the commentary was just awful throughout the match. Like, this was at a time where the commentary was some of the worst it's ever been, and nobody really cared about it. Towards the later half of the match, Miz headbutted MVP, and then the match finally started getting good. They worked more of a fast-paced style, which seemed to work for them a lot better than the slow, methodical pace that they were working beforehand. Towards the end of the match, MVP knocked Miz out. Miz got dragged out by the Big Show out of the ring.
Mark Henry got involved with the Big Show. and Big Show tossed Mark Henry through the barricade. Or Big Show was set up on the barricade. Mark Henry went for a spear, and Big Show just moved out of the way, and Henry went right for the barricade. While this is going on, The Miz gets back in the ring. MVP is in the corner closest to the announce table, and Big Show throws a right hand, allowing The Miz, bloody face and all, to cover MVP and retain the United States Championship.
Yeah, so overall, I mean, the first half of the match was pretty shitty, but the second half of the match, the last, 3 to 5 minutes of the match was pretty decent.
Yeah.
So I wish that they would have
worked that style the whole match.
Yeah.
It would have paid off in the end. We probably would have gotten a co-main event that was better than...
That was worth it.
That was worth it.
Yeah.
And with that being said, brings us to...
our main event of the evening. We've got the Elimination Chamber match for the World Heavyweight Championship. We've got Undertaker versus Rey Mysterio versus John Morrison versus R-Truth versus Chris Jericho versus CM Punk, with the Undertaker having the World Heavyweight Championship at this point.
And second-degree burns.
Because I didn't know this, but James will go on how to tell you guys.
Yeah. He, on his way to the ring, they cut it off in the network. I remember when I first saw it on pay-per-view, it was not cut the way it was. But during his entrance, the Undertaker always has the fire that comes up as he's walking out. I don't know what the hell was happening. I guess that was
one of the pyros extended farther than what it should have.
Well,
and
I
Undertaker
think,
walked into it by accident.
Yeah, I think what it is it was probably one of those pyros that was sitting in the middle. He was supposed to walk ahead of it, and that was supposed to go off after he was already in front of it.
Yeah, but
they probably set it off, and he was engulfed in flames. I had the video. A fan shot a video of it live, and I've seen it. It's on YouTube. You can look it up. And he's engulfed in flames, and he sprints to the ring. They try to cover it up on commentary. They're like, "Oh, he's moving to the chamber with a head of steam." When in reality, he's trying to shake the fact that he was almost one of JR's barbecue meats. And he's sitting in this pod, and you can see I still think it's cut better in the on the network, but he's sitting in the pod with this case of water right behind him. And they're pouring water on him. And then he starts taking water, and he's pouring water.
Yeah, right before the match actually starts, right before Punk and R-Truth start getting into it, you can see Undertaker's face, and he looks extremely angry, and he is just soaking wet.
See, and now, the thing is also, it comes in later in the match, but, Punk doesn't know that he was just burnt. Truth doesn't know he was just burnt because they started the match. So they came out after Taker. So you can only imagine what would have happened, because Jericho, you could see you brought it up when Jericho was looking over at Taker's pod. He was Jericho looked genuinely concerned.
Yeah, because it just looked like Taker was in a bad way, and Jericho's one of those people who is take care of everybody.
Yeah. So we're just gonna go right into the match. We'll get back to we see more of Taker's the extent of what the fire did to him later on in the match. We'll get to that when that comes up.
Yeah. Punk and R-Truth start off the match. Punk, when he went down to the ring, he started cutting a promo. He was telling everybody that he is going to save everybody from their addiction and whatnot. At this point, he was working the straight edge society gimmick with Luke Gallows and Serena Deeb. Serena Deeb. R-Truth starts off real hot, and he starts hitting Punk, with move after move after move. He does all his flashy stuff. He gets a little fire up real quick, and then he goes and he hits Punk with a swanton to the outside of the ring onto the steel. Then after this, he started Irish whipping Punk into the cage. By the time they got back into the ring, R-Truth lost some of his momentum. Punk eventually hits the GTS on Truth for the pin. And then Serena Deeb gives him a mic, and he starts cutting a promo on everybody else before the second pod opens. The second pod is Rey Mysterio, and he comes out of the pod, and him and Punk start going at it. Punk does the same thing that Orton did in the last match, and he started throwing Mysterio into the chains. He started throwing it several times, and then Punk threw Ray into the post, into the corner post.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he Irish whipped him into the corner post when they were back inside the ring. And honestly, it looked like Ray got concussed because he hit his head on the glass door and knocked it out of place.
Yeah.
At this point, Ray got up to his feet and he started climbing to the top of the pod. Punk goes with him, and then Rey Mysterio hits a Hurricanrana on Punk to the outside, rolls him in the ring, and then pins him.
Off a splash, right?
No, I think that was it. It was. Oh no, I think you're right.
He hit the splash. Yeah.
Yeah, he hit the Hurricanrana, rolled him inside the ring, hit the splash, and then pinned him from there. Up next, we got Chris Jericho coming out of the third pod to go at it with Ray. At some point, they're there a little, in that span of 5 minutes. Ray hit Chris with the 619. Jericho rolled out of the ring and then threw Ray into the chamber door. So that looked pretty nasty as well. Ray was taking some crazy bumps. Morrison was the third person out of the pod, and he starts to work Jericho. As Morrison goes to the top rope, Ray throws him into the pod with the back of his head first.
Yeah.
So that looked pretty nasty as well. Honestly, between these 5 minutes right before Undertaker started coming out, you got some good work out of the three of them. There was a lot of back and forth between all three of them. They all had their shine.
Mysterio was eliminated off of Starship Pain by John Morrison, who makes that move look incredible. So Rey Mysterio's out. Now we got a little bit of Jericho and Morrison right before the Undertaker comes on in. It was just, oh God. Morrison hit Jericho with this picture-perfect springboard enziguri, and then he did the same thing to the Undertaker not too long after that. Eventually, it would come down to Taker chokeslamming Morrison on the outside, and it was crazy.
At some point, Jericho was getting the upper hand on everybody, and he started slapping the Undertaker, and the Undertaker starts getting more mad, and he starts firing up, and he chases Jericho into one of the pods. Yeah, no pun intended. And he starts throwing. Jericho ran into one of the pods to try and hide and try and block himself from getting hit by the Undertaker. Undertaker broke the pod, threw the pod door out so far that the referees had to realign it. Yeah, hold it and realign it.
And he's just going at it with Jericho in the pod.
Yeah. And at this point, Undertaker chokeslammed Morrison onto the outside and pinned him. So now we got Jericho and Undertaker left. It was pretty good work between the both of them. I'm actually surprised we never really got like a heavy Jericho versus Undertaker feud.
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing as we're watching. I'm like, they never really
got into it with each other.
I feel like a Jericho streak angle would have been pretty amazing.
Yeah,
I would have taken a Jericho streak angle. Anyways, so this was a lot of submission based towards the end of it. It was Jericho putting Taker in a modified Walls of Jericho because of the burns on Undertaker's chest. You can see Undertaker's not only fighting to keep himself off the ground, but Jericho's holding him in a way that's keeping him elevated, so it's more comfortable for him to be held that way.
Yeah.
But it still looks painful. And Taker eventually turns that into a Hell's Gate, throws Jericho in Hell's Gate, and then hits a last ride on Chris Jericho. As he's getting ready to signify, that's for the tombstone, Shawn Michaels comes up from underneath the chamber.
Yeah, I think he hits the tombstone. Tombstone and then turns around because everybody's... No,
because Jericho's sitting in the corner at that time and he's watching.
Okay, that's what happened. Okay,
yeah. So Undertaker turns around into Sweet Chin Music, and Jericho runs over, crawls over to the Undertaker, pins him. 1, 2, 3. Your new World Heavyweight Champion, going to WrestleMania, Chris Jericho, and this was the start of Shawn Michaels' retirement angle.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
Undertaker would retire Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 26 in the main event.
Yep.
Pretty good chamber match, not for nothing. I mean, compared to the first one of the night.
Yeah, definitely compared to the first one, it was one of the better ones. I mean, there was a lot more psychology, and there was a lot more. Not that there was a lot more psychology, but it was a lot more action out of the second one. that
Yeah.
made sense, and there was a lot more cage spots. There was a lot more.
Yeah, I feel like the first one was trying to tell too much story, because you had so many stories going into it. You know, you had the Sheamus Triple H thing that was brewing. You had the legacy dissension angle. And then you had John Cena, coming off of injury. Not coming off of injury. Orton was coming off injury, late last year, the year before actually, and Cena, he never got his real revenge for injuring him back in 2007. So. There's a lot of story trying to be told in just not enough time for each match. And then, stupid decisions are made. I get Batista, Batista should have just been in the chamber match.
Yeah, it would have made it
because
more of a story, because there was not a lot of stories going into it. The only story that you really had throughout the whole thing was, Orton and Ted teaming up to beat everybody up.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much it. That was the only story that you got in that match at all. And I felt like it would have been more worth it if you had more intertwining stories, I guess. Because for the second one, you had the Straight Edge Society angle. You had The Undertaker, going after pretty much everybody. He was desperate. And, he's the older guy out of all of them. And then you had John Morrison be in his first Elimination Chamber match, So I don't know. Chris Jericho and Ray had a feud with each other as well at that point.
Yeah.
So it just and CM Punk and Rey Mysterio had a feud with each other. At that point, that was what it was. It was Rey Mysterio and Punk, and then you had Jericho was with somebody else. I forgot who he was feuding with at the time. But all in all, it started off weak. It ended off.
Jericho was with Edge at the time.
Yeah. Jericho was with
Jericho and Edge
yep.
thing, yeah.
I don't know. It started off weak, really weak, and it ended pretty okay. It wasn't, it wasn't great. I just wish that the first Elimination Chamber match was as good as the second one. For sure. So that was Elimination Chamber 2010. Leave a comment below. Let us know what you think. Share it when you hear it. We're going to be going to a video form very, very soon. If you haven't already, check out our Dinger for 3 podcast. Our collaboration with Dinger for 3. We do a podcast about Royal Rumble that just passed as well. We're going to be doing a major one for WrestleMania in the coming months as well. Check out our Going in Raw. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, iTunes, the works. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Xavier Heat, wrestling's favorite hothead, and next to me is my beautiful and lovely co-host,
The James Conti, the man with no gimmick. This has been Double Turn Radio signing off. Thank you.
Fuck you. Bye.
Yeah. Representing the Bullet Club, you know what I mean? Wrestle rap, rated. Y'all better cease and desist, man. Too sweet. Biz clip.
Yo, pardon me, Conway. You can't make a song called Bullet Club without a single mention of the Bullet Club. For this brand, I go bananas like gorilla cubs to handle my destiny like Tammy and his little bruv. I stopped puffing, but my lungs still full of bud. Brain still supporting the life. How could I pull a plug? Globe all over the blaze, both of my shoulders straight. I'm showing no restraint when I stretch words like exercise and setting fires, and I'm controlling range flawless. Even Dow's I'ma tell you that my yoga flame. Running wild like the vitamins in Hogan veins. When I'm writing languages, you know the flow's insane. And you can tell by my vocal tone that I know the pain and feeling like I'm missing my shot. So I'ma hone and aim like Brad Cooper in that sniper flick. I'm getting rowdy in the booth, I'm turning it in the Piper's Pit. Treat lyrics like Matt and Nick when I'm rapping it. So you know when that super is the type I kick. Flair flowing until I'm living the life of Rick. Rated RKO, striking them with the Viper hit. And you can tell I get hyper. Suffice to say I knew this was a murder from the moment I was typing this. Too sweet me. Flows got grittier and meaner. Even Kenny the cleaner couldn't sweep me. Move without a team and I built a lot of steam off $1 million dreams, but I'm never getting sleepy. Can't consider me PG, so this season I'ma rock it like CP3. Far rocking just to show them how to be BC. The bars barking like Tomohiro Ishii and y'all marking out. Dog, it ain't smart to doubt this. Every time they count them out, I let the counter spark hits. It's the chairman of the board making my counterpart sit. You can see it's in my bones like La Parker outfit. I ain't parking my whip. Still Death Valley driving like a young Perry Sad, and I'ma mop him out quick to eliminate them all, dog. Rated as a radical, fresh off sabbatical, displaying how hip-hop and wrestling compatible. Kicking for the bucks like Grammatica. Bet that rush crushing it grammatical. It's in my Adams, sling pen with the wages. Grab pens and get at 'em. Hang men with the pages. And everybody trying to do it, but the roster sloppy. I'm straight pimping on the track like I'm Takahashi. So disregard the hashtags, cause I really flow. This is Wrestle Rap, ask Kaz in the millie, yo. And I gotta do it my way. Trying to cross the underboss to lead to bad luck like Fale. Shit.